They say time heals all wounds, but what if that's a lie? What if time doesn't heal, it only hides? Beneath every polite smile, every forced laugh, every quiet night where your mind begins to wander, there lives a voice. A whisper that says, "You should have known better. You should have done more." This is the voice of regret. It doesn't scream. It corrodes. Slowly, patiently, until your past becomes a prison and your present a mere echo of what might have been. But what if you could silence it? What if there was a way not to forgive your past, but to kill it? To bury it so deeply within your subconscious that it loses all power over you? In this exploration, we'll uncover a psychological strategy to do exactly that. We'll journey into the architecture of regret, reveal how your brain and subconscious mind keep replaying the past, and expose the secret mechanism that can end that endless loop. Prepare to confront your ghosts and end their reign. Regret is not just an emotion, it is a psychological echo, a haunting vibration that lives in the corridors of memory. It is the ghost of a decision, replayed by the mind's own machinery. To understand how to kill regret, we must first understand its nature. The human brain is not a recording device, it is a storyteller. Every moment you live is stored not as fact, but as narrative, colored by emotion and interpretation. When you recall a memory, you do not access a frozen image in time. You recreate it. You relive it. The same neural pathways light up as if it's happening again, here, now. This means that regret is not a relic of your past. It is an active creation of your present mind. The past only lives because you feed it. Imagine your subconscious as a vast ocean, and your conscious mind as a small boat sailing across it. Beneath the surface lie the shadows of every decision, every unspoken word, every moment you wish had gone differently. Most people believe they are steering their lives with willpower, with conscious thought, but that's an illusion. The ocean moves the boat, not the other way around. The waves beneath, your beliefs, fears, and unresolved emotions, dictate your direction far more than your intentions. Regret is one of the most powerful currents in that ocean. It pulls you backward into the undertow of what could have been. And when you try to swim forward, it drags you back into the past, over and over again. Psychologically, regret is a function of comparison. The mind creates two timelines, the one that happened and the one it wishes had. It fixates on the imagined version of events, the fantasy of a better choice, a different outcome, and uses it to judge your present self. This is why regret is so corrosive. It feeds off imagination, not reality. You suffer not because of what happened, but because of the story your mind keeps retelling. You are tormented by an alternate life that never existed. But why does the mind do this? The answer lies in its primitive design. The human brain evolved to learn from pain. Regret was once a survival mechanism. Our ancestors replayed mistakes to avoid danger in the future. Yet, in the modern world, that survival instinct has become psychological poison. You don't just remember an error, you identify with it. You build an inner courtroom where you are both judge and defendant, punishing yourself for crimes long expired. This endless trial becomes a form of subconscious self-flagellation, a way for the mind to assert control over an uncontrollable past. This is where the paradox of regret appears. It gives the illusion of control over something that no longer exists. The subconscious clings to the pain because it believes that by replaying it, you might somehow rewrite it. But you cannot rewrite the past by thinking about it. You only rewrite your present perception of it. And that is where the strategy begins. The key is not to suppress regret, but to transform its meaning. Let's consider a metaphor. Think of your life as a vast book, each page representing a moment in time. Most people keep rereading the same chapter, searching for ways to change the words printed long ago. But the secret is this: the ink has dried. The story cannot be rewritten, but the reader can evolve. The self who looks at those pages today is not the same self who wrote them. The mind's greatest deception is the belief that you and your past self are the same person. You are not. You are a different consciousness altogether, looking back through the lens of growth. Regret dies the moment you recognize that the person who made those choices no longer exists. You've been trying to punish a ghost. When we cling to regret, we are essentially trying to keep a dead version of ourselves alive. We feed it energy by revisiting its pain, keeping it breathing in the chambers of memory. But your subconscious cannot distinguish between reflection and reliving. Each time you recall your past failures with emotion, your nervous system reacts as if it's happening now. You flood your body with the same chemistry of shame, guilt, and sorrow, cementing the memory deeper. The past becomes encoded not in time, but in feeling. This is why people find it so hard to move on. The past is not stored in your mind, it's stored in your body. To kill the voice of regret, you must first understand that you are not killing your past. You are severing your attachment to it. The voice of regret is not some external entity whispering from the shadows. It is your own subconscious attempting to complete an unfinished cycle. In psychological terms, this is known as the Zeigarnik effect, the mind's tendency to fixate on unfinished business. Regret exists because your psyche is trying to make sense of something unresolved. The problem is, the mind cannot solve a problem that no longer exists in time. It becomes a loop, an endless replay of questions with no answers. Why did I do that? What if I had chosen differently? These are questions that cannot be answered because they refer to a version of reality that no longer exists. The only way to end the loop is not through reasoning, but through closure. And closure does not come from understanding. It comes from acceptance. True acceptance is not resignation. It is the recognition that the past has no more energy unless you give it. The moment you stop feeding it with attention, it withers. You don't fight regret, you starve it. You don't heal your past by analyzing it. You transcend it by outgrowing it. Killing the voice of regret means becoming so present, so deeply rooted in who you are now, that the ghosts of yesterday can no longer find you. The mind has a peculiar obsession with repetition. It believes that by reliving pain, it can somehow control it. This is why you keep replaying that same moment. The breakup, the lost opportunity, the failure that gnaws at your pride. The subconscious treats regret like a puzzle left unsolved. It keeps moving the same pieces, hoping one day they'll fit differently. But they never do. The event has already ended, and yet, you continue to live in its emotional shadow. To escape this loop, you must begin to see regret for what it truly is. Not punishment, but programming. Every thought you repeat becomes a neural pathway. Every emotional replay strengthens it. Regret is the mind's addiction to self-repetition. It feeds off your attention. When you dwell on a past mistake, your brain releases the same chemical patterns it did the first time. You literally re-traumatize yourself through memory. That's why it feels real, because biologically, it is. Your body becomes the archive of your past emotions. You are not remembering pain, you are re-experiencing it. The key to killing regret lies in breaking this neurochemical contract with the past. Here's the secret most people never realize. Your subconscious doesn't care about truth. It only responds to emotion. If you replay a moment of shame with intensity, your subconscious interprets that as, "This must still be happening." So it stores it as an active pattern, one that shapes your decisions, perceptions, and even your sense of identity. Regret then mutates from memory into identity. You stop saying, "I made a mistake," and start saying, "I am a mistake." This is how regret transforms from pain into personality. It burrows into your self-concept, convincing you that redemption is impossible because you have become the error. But here's where psychology and ancient wisdom converge. The subconscious is programmable. What you repeat, it becomes. The same mechanism that created regret can destroy it. To rewire the past, you must first withdraw emotional energy from it. That means refusing to feel guilty for something you've already learned from. Guilt is the mind's way of signaling, "I have unfinished business." But if you can consciously affirm that the lesson has been absorbed, the mind no longer needs to repeat the cycle. Every time the memory resurfaces, you can respond, not with analysis, but with authority. You say, That moment no longer defines me. It served its purpose. You're not denying the past, you're reassigning its meaning. In Jungian terms, this is the process of integration. Jung taught that we must not repress our shadows, but absorb them, transmute them into wisdom. The same principle applies to regret. To kill it, you must not run from it. You must face it until it loses its power to scare you. When you stop reacting emotionally to a memory, you reclaim psychological ownership over it. This is the essence of transcendence, not erasing your past, but mastering it. Imagine standing before the ruins of a burned-down house. You can cry over the ashes, or you can realize that the fire purified the land. The foundation remains, ready for something greater. Regret is the fire that destroyed your old illusions. When you see it that way, it ceases to be punishment and becomes purification. The pain that once imprisoned you becomes evidence of transformation. This is not mere positive thinking, it's neuropsychological truth. The brain cannot distinguish between imagined growth and real growth if both are felt deeply. When you feel gratitude for your past pain, your neural circuits begin to rewire toward acceptance. Gratitude rewrites regret's code. It's the ultimate override command for the subconscious. Still, there is a darker truth here. Some people cling to regret because it gives them identity. It becomes their narrative, a badge of suffering, proof of depth. Without it, they fear emptiness. This is the hidden addiction. Being someone with a tragic past feels safer than being someone undefined. The ego feeds on pain because pain gives it shape. Killing regret therefore requires ego death, a willingness to release the story you tell about who you are. It's not easy because regret is a form of self-attachment. To let it go feels like letting go of yourself. But you must understand, identity built on pain is not strength. It is a cage disguised as meaning. The law of attraction operates on the frequency of emotion, not thought. If you carry unresolved regret, you unconsciously attract situations that mirror your guilt. You'll sabotage opportunities, push away love, or unconsciously recreate old failures. Because the subconscious seeks familiar emotional patterns, even painful ones. It's not cruelty, it's consistency. The subconscious prefers known suffering over unknown freedom. It seeks equilibrium, not happiness. To break this cycle, you must introduce emotional dissonance, new experiences, new meanings that the mind cannot reconcile with its old story. This is how psychological transformation begins, through confusion, contradiction, and ultimately, collapse of the old paradigm. When the old identity collapses, the voice of regret grows desperate. It will try to lure you back, whispering that you're heartless for moving on, selfish for forgiving yourself, foolish for forgetting. But that's just the final echo of the dying past. You are not abandoning your humanity by letting go of pain. You are reclaiming it. Regret was never meant to be a permanent companion. It was a teacher, and like all teachers, it must eventually be dismissed. Its lesson is simple yet profound. You cannot punish yourself into becoming better. You can only love yourself into becoming whole. And so, the first step toward killing the voice of regret is this realization. It is not a voice from your past. It is a cry from your unhealed self, begging to evolve. When you hear it again, don't silence it with distraction. Listen once more, then answer with truth. You did the best you could with who you were. And now, I choose to be more. In that moment, the chain snaps. The loop breaks. The past dies quietly, not because you destroyed it, but because you finally outgrew it. To truly kill the voice of regret, we must confront its final disguise, the illusion of morality. Regret often wears the mask of virtue. It whispers that guilt is noble, that self-punishment equals accountability. You tell yourself that to forgive your past would be to disrespect the pain it caused, or the people it hurt. But this is the most deceptive illusion of all. True responsibility is not endless sorrow. It is transformation. The only genuine apology is evolution. To remain chained to guilt is not moral integrity. It is emotional stagnation. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between moral duty and self-destruction. It simply repeats what you reward with attention. And every time you indulge that inner voice of, "I should have," you reinforce a cycle that has long outlived its usefulness. The voice of regret is not your conscience, it is your conditioning. In the language of the psyche, regret represents a refusal to graduate from a previous chapter of growth. It is the unfinished emotion of a soul that has learned the lesson but hasn't yet left the classroom. The human spirit is designed for evolution, not endless rumination. The tragedy is that most people mistake reflection for progress. They sit in the ruins of the past, calling it introspection, when in truth they are trapped in an emotional feedback loop. The past becomes their identity, their comfort zone, even their religion. They revisit it, worship it, build monuments to it, and pray to its memory every night in the form of regretful thoughts. But no one ever reached enlightenment by kneeling at the altar of what could have been. The soul only awakens when it dares to leave its own history behind. There's a concept in trauma psychology called frozen time. It describes how a part of your psyche becomes trapped in the moment of an unresolved event. Though your body grows, that fragment of self remains suspended, endlessly reliving the moment it couldn't understand or accept. Regret is frozen time. Somewhere inside you lives a younger self, still holding the burden of that choice, still waiting for forgiveness. This is why logical reasoning never heals regret. It's not a thought that needs correction, but a feeling that needs release. To truly move on, you must unfreeze that version of yourself. You must enter the memory, not to rewrite it, but to retrieve the self that got trapped there. This is where modern psychology meets the ancient art of soul retrieval, a practice found in shamanic traditions across the world. It teaches that when we experience deep pain or shame, parts of our spirit fracture off, remaining stuck in the energetic landscape of that moment. Regret is the echo of that separation. To kill it, you must reclaim the part of you that never left that place. Imagine walking back into that moment of failure, not as a victim, but as the wiser self you've become. Look at your younger self in that memory and see them not as weak, but as learning, surviving, doing what they knew how to do at that time. You don't need to erase what happened, you need to reparent it. Healing is not amnesia, it is reconciliation. The subconscious does not speak in words, it speaks in symbols, imagery, and emotion. That's why rituals, visualization, and symbolic acts can be so powerful in transcending regret. Burning a letter, closing a door, standing under the rain and saying, "I release you." These are not theatrics. They are psychological codes, commands spoken in the language the subconscious understands. Ancient civilizations knew this long before modern therapy. Transformation is not intellectual, it is symbolic. The reason regret persists is because you've tried to reason it away, when what it needs is ceremony. Ritual is how the subconscious recognizes finality. You must show it that the story is over. There's another truth hidden beneath regret. It is often the seed of destiny. Every great awakening begins with a fall, and every profound transformation begins with error. Regret is a compass pointing toward the parts of you still waiting to evolve. Without it, growth would have no direction. The mind perceives it as punishment, but the soul recognizes it as invitation, a call to become the version of you that no longer needs that pain to remember who you are. When you understand this, regret transforms into gratitude. You see the perfection behind the imperfection, the intelligence behind the suffering. It's as if life carved your soul through experience, polishing you into awareness. Yet this realization comes with a final test. When you kill regret, you also kill the comfort of self-pity. There is a strange security in carrying pain. It makes you feel real, significant, even righteous. Letting go can feel like betrayal. Betrayal of your wounds, your story, your old self. But in truth, it is an act of resurrection. You cannot be reborn if you insist on mourning your own ghost. The past was never meant to be your home. It was only ever a classroom. You were meant to visit, learn, and leave. Staying there too long is not loyalty. It's fear disguised as devotion. So when you finally hear that whisper of regret, the one that creeps in before sleep, the one that replays your mistakes like a cruel film reel. Pause. Don't argue. Don't explain. Simply smile. Because now you know the secret. The voice is not your enemy. It's the echo of who you once were, calling from a timeline that no longer exists. And the most merciful thing you can do for that version of you is to let them rest. Let them die so that you can live. The voice fades not through war, but through irrelevance. You have evolved beyond its reach. The past cannot be killed with violence. It dissolves through understanding. Regret dies when it no longer finds a host to feed on. And when it finally goes silent, what remains is freedom. The kind of silence that hums with power. The kind that comes only when the ghosts have been set free. And all that's left is the sound of your own becoming. Now that we've walked through the shadowlands of the mind, it's time to bring this into practice, to move from understanding to transformation. Killing the voice of regret is not achieved through philosophy alone. It requires psychological precision and emotional ritual. The subconscious mind, though vast and mysterious, follows clear laws. If you learn to work with it instead of against it, you can dismantle the architecture of regret and reprogram the space it once occupied. The first step is emotional retrieval. Set aside a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. Close your eyes and summon the image of the self who made that mistake, who endured that loss, who disappointed themselves or someone else. Do not analyze, simply observe. Notice how that version of you looks, feels, moves. They might be younger, smaller, perhaps lost in confusion. Approach them as you would a frightened child. The purpose of this visualization is not to relive the pain, but to retrieve the part of you frozen there. Tell that version of yourself, you did not fail, you learned, you survived, and now I bring you home. Feel the emotional reunion. This symbolic act communicates closure to your subconscious. You are reintegrating what was split off by shame. The second step is energetic release. Regret is a loop of trapped energy, and emotion is energy in motion. When you repress it, it stagnates. When you express it safely, it moves. You can do this through breathwork, physical movement, or sound. Take a deep breath in through the nose, and as you exhale, imagine expelling the residue of regret. Do this rhythmically until you feel the tension dissolve from your body. If tears come, let them. Crying is the soul's detox. It purges emotional toxins from the nervous system. Afterward, sit in stillness. Notice the lightness. That is your energy returning to the present. The third step is reframing. Regret thrives on distorted meaning. It tells you that pain equals failure, when in truth, pain equals data. Every painful memory carries coded information about your evolution. Write down the regret that haunts you most, and next to it, list what it taught you. The mind cannot hold two opposing meanings simultaneously. By redefining the event as a lesson rather than a loss, you overwrite its emotional charge. This is neuroplasticity in motion. The brain literally rewires as new interpretations replace old associations. The event remains, but the emotion attached to it changes frequency. You are not rewriting history. You are rewriting your relationship to history. The fourth step is symbolic burial. Humans have buried their dead for millennia, not because the body needed it, but because the psyche did. The subconscious understands endings through ritual. Write your regret on paper. Every detail, every emotion. Then destroy it, burn it, bury it, dissolve it in water. As you do, speak the words. This story is complete. Do not rush. Feel the closure as a real transfer of energy. You are not pretending. It is an act of psychic finality. The brain marks this as completion, signaling to the subconscious that the loop is over. The past, at last, is finished. The fifth step is replacement. Nature abhors a vacuum, and the mind does too. Once you remove regret, you must install a new emotional program. Choose a daily affirmation or mantra that declares your sovereignty over time. Something like, I honor my past, but I live in the now. Repeat it every morning upon waking and every night before sleep. The subconscious is most malleable at the threshold of consciousness, just before falling asleep and just after waking. In those moments, your mind is a fertile field. Plant seeds of new identity there. Speak them with conviction, because repetition is the architecture of belief. The sixth and final step is embodiment. Regret dies when new action proves it obsolete. Choose one behavior, no matter how small, that contradicts your old story. If your regret whispers that you're unworthy of love, do one loving thing for yourself today. If it tells you you're a failure, complete one small task and celebrate it. Each action becomes a symbolic rebirth, a way of teaching your subconscious that you are no longer that person. Change doesn't happen through insight, it happens through demonstration. The body must show the mind that the past is over. As these practices deepen, you may feel moments of silence, an eerie stillness where the voice of regret once lived. Don't fear that emptiness. That space is sacred. It's where the old identity dissolves and a new one begins to form. Over time, the silence becomes strength. The absence becomes freedom. You no longer think about letting go because the weight itself has vanished. You have not forgotten your past. You have simply stopped identifying with it. What was once a wound becomes wisdom. What was once regret becomes revelation. Understand this: your past self was not your enemy. They were your apprentice. You are the master they were trying to become. The moment you see this, you realize regret was never meant to be killed in anger. It was meant to be released in gratitude. Killing the voice of regret is not destruction. It is evolution. And once the lesson is complete, the voice grows silent, not because it has been silenced, but because it has nothing left to say. In the end, regret is not the enemy. It is the echo of transformation calling for completion. You were never meant to carry your past. You were meant to refine it into wisdom. Every moment of shame, every mistake, every sleepless night replaying what if was never punishment. It was initiation. The voice of regret dies not in battle, but in transcendence. When you stop identifying with your pain, you stop feeding it. And in that stillness, something extraordinary happens. Clarity emerges. The present moment reveals itself as the only reality that has ever truly existed. The past becomes a library, not a prison. So kill the voice of regret not by hatred but by understanding. Let the ghost rest, and in doing so, awaken the self that was waiting beneath the noise. The one who is not bound by memory but freed by meaning. The one who lives.